Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacqueline and this is So Maniacal. It has been quite a couple months since I have been gone. I will explain that to you in another time, but today I'm just really happy to be back. And yes, I cut off all my hair. 2022 was a rough year. Today we are sewing something that I have named various different things, between a cutout side knit dress to like a keyhole knit dress. I don't quite know how to frame it, but let's just say I made a knit dress with a cutout spot on the side. The pattern that I am speaking of is a Simplicity pattern by the number Simplicity. It's S9370. Okay, I got that right this time. I have gone through 4 takes of getting that wrong. But it is a Mimi style pattern. If you don't know who Mimi is, do yourself a favor and go look her up on YouTube. She is an incredible designer. She's great style. She has a full line of her own brand patterns on Simplicity. And they're relatively, they are a more size inclusive. Like, I feel like there are quite a few patterns that are all the way up to like a size 32, or well, I think Simplicity's doing it anyways, but I think she had like a big hand in doing that, which I think is amazing. So yeah, go do yourself a favor and go check her out. But today we're sewing one of her dresses, and I'm also going to alter it because it does not go up to the size that I need it to, or so I thought, but we will find that out in a second. Links to everything in this video are in the description below, including the where to get the pattern, fabric, everything that I use, all of my personal information. And I also want to say that I am not being paid by them in any way, shape, or form to talk about or sew this dress, nor did they give me this pattern. I did everything with my own money, and everything is just my own opinions. I just do this because I feel like there should be more inclusivity in commercial patterns, and I just want to help out and give people a more video version of how to sew a pattern for those of us who sometimes have issues reading and understand worded patterns. You know, sometimes it can just help having a video. So that's what I do here. Anyways, let's go ahead and get on into sewing. Originally, I had researched doing a traditional FBA, but the stretch of the fabric made it difficult and I was not confident in it. So I switched to doing a different kind of FBA recommended by the person who created the brand Cashmere. They have a course on Craftsy, and no, it is not sponsored, but yeah, she does all different types of FBAs, and for a knit shirt, she suggested this one, which is basically just cutting across the bust line and adding in my measurement that I need here instead. So I sliced the pattern, added the 4 inches that I needed, which at this moment feels like it was way too much, and you will see. And I traced it. So her suggestion was to add a bubble on the side of the gap. And at this bubble, I will make sure that I do 2 gather threads so that I can go ahead and gather them up so that the front will match the back. Because I'm not doing anything to the back because the back is fine. The skirt, I added 1 3/4 inch, but I wasn't sure how the cutout part would react. Definitely watch the whole video on my fit issues before you do your own, and I will kind of give you a general idea on how that cutout works with different types of fabric, or if you're doing a 4-way stretch fabric like me, you may not need any type of adjustments. Just saying. After you cut out your dress, start by pinning the bodice front to the sleeve front at the armhole area, matching your notches and stitch. Do the same to the other front sleeve and press your seam allowance up. Pin your back sleeve to the front sleeve, matching notches, and stitch. Make sure you pay attention to which sleeve you sew here. This will be a recurring theme with this entire pattern. Stitch your bodice back to the right armhole edge. Use the picture on the pattern as your guide. Take your collar piece and fold lengthwise, wrong sides together, and pin. Pin the collar to the bodice neckline matching notches and make sure the dots match the shoulder seams. You will have to stretch while you stitch this, but don't overdo it. Press the seam towards the bodice and the collar away from the bodice. Take your zipper and measure the opening of the bodice shoulder from the collar to the large dot, less 1/8 of an inch. Trim your zipper to the length needed, plus an extra 5/8 of an inch. I will leave a link in the description on how to trim your zipper. Open the zipper and press the zipper tape flat as shown. Don't iron the zipper teeth though, because they might melt. Pin the right side of your zipper face down to the right side of the opening at the large dot. It may help to mark the seam allowance to place the teeth of the zipper when you pin this. Having the tape within the seam allowance at the neckline, hand baste your zipper in down the center. Then stitch your zipper into place with your machine, staying as close as possible to the teeth without sewing into them and ending at the large dot. Do the same thing with the zipper on the other side, keeping the zipper even near the neckline. Close your zipper several times to make sure that, one, that it's invisible, but also that it's even and it doesn't look wonky. And I feel like I am 60% okay with this, so I'm just gonna leave it because I will obsess over this one small little spot here. I'm just not gonna deal with it. We know how I am with zippers. Pin the rest of the seam below the zipper together right sides. Pull the free ends of the zipper tape out of the way and stitch with a zipper foot that is positioned as far left as possible. Start sewing 1/4 of an inch above the final stitch on the zipper and down the rest of that seam. Turn the ends of the zipper tape near the neckline down onto the seam allowance and hand stitch them down. Pin the front bodice to the back bodice at the side seam under the left arm seam. Remember, left arm seam. I did 2 parallel long stitches on both sides of my bodice front where the extra length was added. I then pulled the bobbin side of the thread to gather the fullness in and tied a knot on one end of the thread. That should help the front edge meet the back edge and take care of any weird length issues. Make sure you're sewing the bodice together under the side with the zipper, and it will be the shortest side seam compared to the other one. Form a casing at the opening by pressing 5/8 of an inch on the edge like so, exactly where we just sewed that side seam. Pin and stitch at 3/8 of an inch between the large dots. Take your elastic and cut it as long as the guide for the bodice casing. I used a safety pin to help feed the elastic through the casing and secured both ends right outside the last casing stitch. Sew across the elastic to keep it in place. Stitch your front skirt to the back, right sides together at the left side seam. Form a casing the same as the bodice between the large dots on the skirt waistline. Cut your elastic according to the skirt elastic guide and secure it into the skirt casing, same as the bodice. Pin the skirt to the bodice, right sides together at the waistline and stitch from the large dots out to the right side seams. The ties need to be lengthened if you don't fit in the size range, but that also depends on how long you want them to hang. I wanted mine like the photo, so I added a few inches on the end so that it would match and wrap around my waist. Once you have your tie, narrow hem the entire length except the wider end by folding by 5/8 of an inch, pressing and folding the raw edge inside to meet the crease. press again. Stitch down the narrow hem with a zigzag stitch or a twin needle if you have one. Trim off any excess pieces of fabric. Pin the ties matching large dots on the right free side seam of the garment. Then base stitch them down. Match the front to the back of the whole garment on that last free side seam. Right sides together and stitch. This is a great time to try on your dress to make sure you did it right. Now you will hem your dress according to whatever length you need it to be. And you will trim off any excess, leaving an extra 5/8 of an inch for seam allowance. Then press up the hem allowance and stitch 1/4 of an inch away from the inner raw edge and 1/4 of an inch away from the folded edge. Hopefully that was helpful and informational. I absolutely love this fabric. I wish I could go buy some more. I have a little bit of it left that I'm going to use for other things, but it's just so shiny and so luxe, and I really appreciate that. And it could have actually ended up really cheap, but I don't know. I just feel like it looks nice. It's just my style, you know. And I almost flipped to the inside because the inside is like a matte of the same color. But I just felt like, yeah, take a chance, make it shiny. So I absolutely love this fabric. I think everything turned out really well. And I'm embracing this style of like not being afraid to dress up or be in shiny things or to be extra. You know, I feel like I've been like that type of person that's always like, well, let's put it this way. Sometimes when you were bigger, you feel like I need to make myself as small as possible and at least amount seen. And I don't think that's really my jam anymore. I like to be flashy. I like to be glamorous. And I think I'm trying to hone that now that I'm in my 30s. So this style really did like help me feel sexy and just glamorous and what I needed, basically. Well, as I said earlier in the video, 4-way stretch was not my friend with this. I found out that I already have a short waist anyways, and adding that space probably would have helped if it hadn't been for a 4-way stretch material. However, for me, it added that, but then it also dropped the waist. So I have to go in now and take in the waist, or take off some of that extra length at the bottom, and then add the skirt back on so that the skirt actually hits at the correct place and isn't drop waist, you know. Because I'm not a big drop waist fan, but you know, it's all just a learning curve situation. Sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get it on the first try, sometimes you get it on the 10th try. It's all as long as you're happy. Another funny thing is the fact that like I did not realize how big that hole was gonna be, and I had to take some of that in because it was like showing off the goodies, and I'm like, I want to be classy. And I just made it drop way too much. So I had to take in some of the extra slack off the skirt, which I feel like is probably the reason why I wouldn't add anything to the skirt. And if you do it, definitely make a mock-up so that you know, like, okay, I don't need this much or I need some more, because that keyhole plays like a big part. Well, that hole and the way it dips down on the skirt plays a big part in how much it drops on the side. So definitely make a mock-up beforehand so that you don't have that same type of issue I did and have to take it in. But if you do, it's not that big a deal. It's as simple as just taking off some from the skirt. But thank you all so much for joining me today and for sticking around. I know I've been gone and it has been a rough year, and as you can see, I chopped off all of my hair. Hence the reason why it's been a rough year. But yes, thank you so much for sticking around. If you don't mind sharing to your friends who also want to make this, and if you do make this, make sure you tag me on Instagram under SoManiacal. I will be checking on there and commenting and liking and following, of course. Yeah, I have to read on my notes because I haven't done this in so long. Oh yeah, make sure that you like, and if you feel like it, subscribe and stick around. I will be uploading more than I normally do. And yeah, and I promise to stop saying and yeah, but yeah. On that note, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.